My sister wore red to our parents' funeral. Not dark red. Celebration red. She stood beside their caskets with dry eyes, gold bracelets clicking against each other, already talking about selling the house before the flowers had wilted. My name is Betrayal Harper, and I was the daughter who stayed. I was the one who drove Mom to chemo, who found Dad sleeping in his recliner with unpaid bills on his chest, who learned which floorboards creaked so I could check on them without waking them. My sister, Vanessa, arrived only when there was something to take. After the burial, she walked into our parents' living room like she owned the air inside it. Her husband carried empty boxes. Her lawyer carried a leather folder. I was still holding Mom's cardigan. "You need to leave tonight," Vanessa said, smiling softly enough for witnesses. "The house, the accounts, everything is mine now." Mom and Dad knew who deserved it. I didn't argue. I just followed her to the lawyer's office. Vanessa crossed her legs, glowing with victory. Then the lawyer opened the will and asked her one quiet question. "Are you sure you understand what they left you?" Vanessa laughed before answering. The sound filled the conference room like she had already won. "I understand perfectly," she said. "The house comes to me. The investment accounts come to me. Every asset comes to me." The lawyer studied her for a moment. His expression wasn't hostile. It was cautious. The kind of look someone gives a person standing near a cliff without realizing how close they are to the edge. He adjusted his glasses and continued reading. The language was precise, written by my father himself with legal supervision. Vanessa's smile widened as each asset passed under her name. The house, the savings, the vehicles, the vacation property. Her husband squeezed her hand beneath the table. I remained silent, not because I was surprised, because I remembered something neither of them knew. 3 months before Mom died, she had asked me to bring her old cedar box from the attic. Inside were photographs, letters, and one sealed envelope. She made me promise never to discuss it. Not with Vanessa. Not with anyone. At the time, I thought it was another family memory she couldn't bear to throw away. Now, sitting across from my sister, I realized why she had looked so relieved after sealing it. The lawyer reached the final page. Then he stopped and pulled out a second document nobody expected to see. The room went completely still. Even Vanessa's husband released her hand. The lawyer placed the second document beside the will with deliberate care. "What is that?" Vanessa asked. For the first time all afternoon, uncertainty touched her voice. The lawyer glanced at me briefly before answering. This document was submitted with the will and instructed to be read only after the estate distribution was confirmed. Vanessa leaned forward.
"Fine.
"Read it." He unfolded the pages. The paper looked older than the will itself. Dad's signature sat at the bottom. Mom's was beside it. My chest tightened. I had seen those signatures together only a handful of times. The lawyer began. "In the event that Vanessa Harper inherits the family estate, all inherited property must remain under her direct ownership for a minimum of 5 years. Vanessa shrugged. "That's not a problem." The lawyer continued. "The inherited residence may not be sold, refinanced, transferred, leased, gifted, or occupied by any person not named within this agreement." Her husband's confident posture disappeared. Vanessa frowned. "What does that mean?" The lawyer's eyes moved back to the page. "It means your husband cannot legally live in the house." The silence that followed felt physical. Vanessa stared at him, then laughed nervously. "You're joking." The lawyer didn't smile. And he hadn't reached the most important paragraph yet. Vanessa's laugh faded when nobody joined her. The lawyer turned the page. Her husband shifted uneasily beside her, no longer looking like a man planning his future. He looked like someone discovering terms he should have read before celebrating. The lawyer continued. "Any violation of these conditions immediately triggers a forfeiture clause." Vanessa straightened. "A what?" "A forfeiture clause." The room seemed smaller. The lawyer's voice remained calm. "In the event of noncompliance, all inherited assets shall be transferred to the alternate beneficiary designated by the estate." Vanessa's face lost color. She grabbed the edge of the table. "Alternate beneficiary?" The lawyer nodded. "Yes." Her eyes darted toward me, for the first time that day. Not with triumph. With concern. "Who is it?" she asked. The lawyer didn't answer immediately. Instead, he read the next section. The beneficiaries were intentionally informed of different expectations during the parents' lifetimes. This was done to evaluate character, loyalty, and motivation independent of financial reward. Vanessa blinked. She looked genuinely confused, then angry, then frightened. "Stop reading around it," she snapped. "Who gets everything if something happens?" The lawyer folded his hands. His gaze settled directly on me. I felt my pulse hammering inside my throat. Then he finally spoke. "The alternate beneficiary is sitting in this room." Vanessa slowly turned toward me. And for the first time in years, she looked afraid of me. Vanessa stared at me as if I had orchestrated the entire afternoon. I hadn't. The shock on my face was real. I knew about the sealed envelope. I knew Mom had hidden something important. I never imagined it was this. "That's impossible," Vanessa whispered. The lawyer slid a copy of the document across the table. "It is legally enforceable." She snatched the pages. Her eyes raced over every line. Each second seemed to strip away another layer of certainty. Her husband reached for the document. She pulled it back instinctively. That small movement told me everything. For years, they had operated as a team. Now fear had introduced distance. "You set me up," Vanessa said, looking directly at me. I shook my head. "I didn't even know." The lawyer cleared his throat. "There is more." Nobody interrupted him. "Attached to this agreement is a private letter from your parents explaining their reasoning." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "Wonderful. A lecture from beyond the grave." The lawyer opened the letter. Dad's words filled the room. He wrote about sacrifice, about presence, about who showed up when life stopped being convenient. Mom wrote beneath him. Her handwriting was unmistakable. Then the lawyer reached a paragraph that made my stomach drop. It revealed something my parents had hidden from both of us for years. And Vanessa wasn't the only one who had been deceived. The lawyer adjusted the letter in his hands and continued reading. "Brielle," Mom had written, "if you are hearing this, there is something we should have told you long ago." My pulse pounded. Vanessa looked from the letter to me. Neither of us spoke. 27 years ago, the lawyer read, a judge finalized an adoption that brought you into our family. The air disappeared from my lungs. I heard the words. I understood the words. Yet they refused to settle inside me. Adoption. Dad's voice seemed to echo through the page. "We never saw you as anything except our daughter. We delayed telling you because every year felt like the wrong year." Tears blurred my vision. Not because I felt betrayed. Because every memory suddenly carried a hidden layer. Every birthday. Every scraped knee. Every bedtime story. Vanessa looked stunned. I wasn't her biological sister. I wasn't related by blood at all. Then the lawyer reached the next paragraph. And that changed everything again. "Vanessa," Mom wrote, "you spent years believing Brielle received more love than you. The truth is the opposite. We spent most of our lives protecting her from a secret connected to her birth family." My hands trembled. The lawyer lowered his eyes to the final section. Then he read a name I had never heard before. Yet everyone else in the room recognized it immediately. The name landed in the room like a dropped glass. Eleanor Whitmore. Vanessa's husband froze. Even the lawyer paused. I looked between them, confused. "Who is that?" I asked. Nobody answered immediately. Then the lawyer folded the letter and spoke carefully. "Eleanor Whitmore was your biological grandmother." The name meant nothing to me. The next sentence changed that. "She passed away last year." I nodded uncertainly. The lawyer continued. "She was the founder of a national real estate company worth hundreds of millions of dollars." My mind went blank. Vanessa stared at me. Not with anger anymore. With disbelief. The lawyer explained that Eleanor had spent years searching for the child lost through a complicated family situation decades earlier. She found me. Too late. By the time she confirmed my identity, her health had collapsed. My parents had known. They kept the secret because they feared money would destroy the family. Looking at Vanessa, I understood why. The lawyer opened one final file. Mrs. Whitmore left instructions.
His voice softened.
If Brielle Harper remained kind despite never knowing who she would inherit her estate. Vanessa closed her eyes. The room was silent. Then the lawyer revealed the valuation. The number was so large that nobody spoke. But the most painful part wasn't the money. It was discovering what Vanessa had traded our relationship for. Nobody moved after the number was spoken. The silence felt heavier than grief. Vanessa stared at the table. Not at the inheritance she thought she had secured. Not at me. At the wreckage of choices that had led her here. For years, she believed our parents loved me more. For years, she measured affection in dollars, gifts, and future promises. Now the truth sat between us. Mom and Dad had never been testing who deserved money. They had been hoping their daughters would choose each other. Vanessa wiped her eyes. It was the first genuine emotion I had seen from her all day. I thought they replaced me, she whispered. I looked at the letter again. Every sentence carried love. Even the restrictions. Even the secrets. Especially the secrets. The estate eventually transferred according to the documents. The lawyers handled the details. The headlines that followed meant nothing to me. What mattered was the conversation that happened after everyone left. Vanessa apologized. Not perfectly. Not dramatically. Honestly. For the first time in years, we talked without competing. Without calculating. Without keeping score. I kept my parents' house. I shared part of my inheritance with causes Mom and Dad cared about. And I finally understood their last lesson. The greatest thing they left behind was never money. It was the chance to become family again.